Hello, my name is Spence Hartnett. I am a level designer, and today we're going to take a look at a personal project that I've just recently finished. So this is a level blockout based on the game Rogue Company by Hi-Rez. So Rogue Company is a tactical, team-based third-person shooter game with unique characters and abilities. Now this level specifically focuses on their demolition game mode, which is a round-based 4v4 game mode where attackers try to plant the bomb and defenders try to defend the two plant sites, or the two bomb sites, rather. So this level is pretty traditional 3-lane map, and I'm going to walk through each lane, give some insight into my design process, my overall goals for the level, and maybe some challenges that I faced while working on it. And just to reiterate, this is a personal project. I do not work for Hi-Rez. I've not made any content for Rogue Company. This is just inspired by the game. So, starting from attacker spawn, we're going to take a look at the right lane first. So we'll head over this way. You'll notice that all of the half cover in this game is the height of this player character's crouch height. So if a player were to crouch behind any of the half cover in this game, they would be completely concealed. Um, and so we're going to take a look at this right lane here. So coming up to the right lane, we see that the B bomb site is a little ways back there. So we've got this sort of main right lane here, and then over here is sort of a sub lane. So you've got a few different options when attacking this side, and this lane you can see right into where the defender's sub lane opens up. And so there's a good opportunity for some long range rifle battle here. You can push up with some full cover here and sort of gather some information pretty safely with a shoulder peek or with a camera change. There's a window here that looks onto the B site, and you can sort of camera look around this. And then pushing up even further, you have a good view of the defender's initial spawn, their right lane, which goes over there by that fence. And then pushing even further up, we have this interior play space with a few different options to try and take high ground here. Rogue Company has these neat um, vertical zips that they have on some levels to give an additional option to taking high ground, um, as well as this stairway over here on the left, which gives a sort of a power position in this window. You have a lot of view on the level, on the defender side of the level mostly. You can, and as well you have a sort of narrow angle onto the B bomb site, so you can play in here and pretty safely gather information. So let's go. Oh, that's a ragdoll, I guess. There we go. So back to the main right lane of the attacker's side. So there's plenty of half cover here to play around with, and the bomb site is relatively small, but there's plenty of options for plant spaces. And what's interesting about this lane is that there's this sort of interior play space that transitions into the middle lane. Um, but the attackers actually cannot access this interior space from the right side unless they're pushed all the way up onto the bomb site. And so the defenders are always going to be able to take this interior play space first, which is something that as an attacker you need to worry about. So if you were, say, in a 4v4 game mode, or if you were in a 4v4 match and you wanted to hit this B bomb site, you might um, send a few people up this main lane to try and hold off any push from this interior space, or maybe to flush a defender out of this interior space. And then you might send a player to down this sub lane to clear any defenders out of here and maybe play on this box where you have a nice vantage point into the interior play space. So let's head in there. Actually, first, let's look at a few different plant options for attackers. So you might be able to plant here, plant bomb. So you're basically pretty completely covering yourself from this interior space, as well as any sight lines that might be coming from the left side of the map, but you're opening yourself up to this window as well as some of this attack or the defender's left lane. So you can move up here and plant here and fully cover yourself from the defender's lane, but open yourself up to this interior space and this sight line all the way over to the left lane from the attacker's side. And then you could plant back here and cover yourself again from the defender's left lane, but you're open again from some different sight lines from this interior space in this mid lane. So let's take a look at this interior space. There's a bit of cover, a bit of half cover, no full cover in here, and it's relatively open. So there's a good amount of varying sight lines throughout, like horizontally between all of the lanes actually. So that cutout in the wall goes over to the left lane. That window there goes over to the left lane as well. And then you've got this little space back here, which spills out into the mid lane. So one of the challenges that I faced while designing this B bomb site was trying to keep this interior space relatively open without giving too many sight lines horizontally through the left lane and the mid lane into this bomb site. And so initially this window wasn't here. This was or this panel wasn't here. This was a fully open window from here to here, but I felt that, or I noticed that that just gave too many options, um, or too many angles horizontally through the map. And there was also a window here that backed up, or that looked through this main door, and again I had to close that off because I also wanted to preserve the fact that a player on the attacking side couldn't ever get up into the interior of this building before a defender, and that might have been possible if they if they mantled through this window here. Um, all right, so let's take a look at the middle lane now, back from the attacker side. The one thing I'll mention is that the attacker side has mostly full cover on like as transition points between the lanes, so that if, say, for example, we were playing like a team deathmatch mode or something with respawns that wasn't round based, then it would be much more difficult for the defenders to um, push up in here and like spawn kill or anything like that. So we're going to take a look at this middle lane, a bit of half cover, and then this arch sort of leads to a big opening here, this sort of central courtyard area with plenty of varied full cover and half cover. We've got a doorway over into this interior space here, as well as a quick doorway that leads to the left lane, and then we can push up even further, and we see this cutout in the wall here that transitions into the left lane. This wasn't this was blocked off for most of my initial design, um, my initial like 2D design process, but pretty quickly into the 3D making or the 3D layout, I realized that the left lane was really closed off from the rest of the level, and so having this little cutout into the mid lane really helped facilitate a bit of better flow between the lanes. So if we push all the way up through into the defender's side, we've got this little like low area, And so um, this sort of serves as maybe a King of the Hill spot for a different game mode. Um, and it's got another vertical zip to quickly get up to the defender's spawn if if they can't take a ramp for whatever reason, or they just want to play down in here and try and play for some info of players coming through mid lane. You have a little bit of a sight line into the attacker's left lane window here, and you can also play around this car and sort of get some information on players who might be trying to enter the interior play space on B-bomb. So now we're going to go back and take a look at the left lane from the attacker side. So similar to the right lane, the left lane has sort of a main lane that's through this um, interior play space here, as well as a sub lane that's off to the left. So we're going to take a look at the sub lane first. So again, we have this small lower lane down here with some full cover and some half cover. So this is sort of flip-flopped actually from the other side, where your half cover is more forward and your full cover is more back. So you sort of safely play here for gathering information on whether players might be playing on the stairs or playing in that interior play space in the defender side, or if they're up on this overlook here. And then once you're pretty sure that there aren't any players on this side, you can push up to the half cover and sort of take the space that's given to you here on the A site. And so then we're going to go back and take a look at the main lane here. So inside, we've got a bit of half cover to work with here, and it transitions up to a little overlook here. So this is a good spot for maybe a sniper or a long rifle to sit. A theme, one of the goals, one of the sub goals I had for this level was I wanted to make it so a player could safely um, gather information, but they had to risk their life if they wanted to take an engagement. So you can sit here behind this cover and sort of camera peek most of a bomb without any danger to your life. But if you want to take an engagement anywhere sort of meaningful besides, this far lane, this far uh, left lookout lane, you sort of have to put yourself in harm's way to take these engagements. So that's a theme that I tried to stick with throughout this level. Was you can play around full cover and gather information, but if you want to take a gunfight, you're gonna have to put yourself in harm's way and play some half cover or no cover at all in the case of this window up here. So the A bomb is sat right in front of the defender's interior play space here. And we've got some full cover, a good mix of full and half cover around this lane um, to work with for both attackers and defenders. And we've got this cutout again from the lane side, or from the A bomb side. And there's a few more options. This A bomb is a little bit bigger, and I think there's a few more options on this side for attackers to plant. So you could plant something like here and have your teammates watching over you from the back there. You could plant up here if you were able to take this interior space from the defenders. You could plant here. And then an interesting one is this is the most this is like the riskiest plant spot because you've got so many angles you need to cover. But if you're able to take this plant and then push up this lane, you have a really, really strong position to watch over this bomb site from. So you can just sit here behind your cover, and you only really have to worry about someone coming up on your left and the bomb. Um, So let's take a look at this left side a little bit more because there's even a little bit more to it. There's this low left area and then another zip over here, which gives you just another option to take this vertical spot up here. And then while I was working on this outside sort of curved stairwell, as I was playing and like thinking about how a player would attempt to take this spot, I kept worrying about this area over here. So I tried to design it in a way that your like your shoulder checks and your player placement checks are all very staggered and very apparent. So is my camera the right way? So as you're initially pushing up, all you have to worry about is this spot here. And then you go a little bit further and you have to worry about a little bit over here, but mostly it's just a player playing on this half cover over here. And then you push up even further and you'd think you would have to worry about over here, and that was one of the problems was I kept worrying about this side space because a player could very easily, or a defender could very easily be playing on this back interior door here. So I put this box here so that a player is fully safe pushing up this side and they only have to worry about um, clearing this platform and this backside, and then they can sort of sit here in this full cover and camera peek this back interior doorway. And then they can full clear this as they're walking up. And then we're going to take a look at this interior space now. So again, the player can sit behind these cover spots, behind these half covers, and sort of play for information to see if an attacker pushes up on this box or down the stairs. You've got a few different sight lines. This is an interesting spot to play because you just have um, varying degrees of verticality you can work with, as well as a sort of half cover you have on this entire staircase. And then there's this underneath the balcony you can play with some half cover here that fully um, looks out into the window, the attacker's window, and then this left side spills out into the defender's side middle lane. And now just to quickly cover the defender's side, so it's mostly all the same. They spawn in on this big platform, or they fly down to this defender spawn. Um, you can either play on this ramp, or you can push up through this interior space and play safely for information, or push out and engage. You can play around this half wall or this full cover here, but more than likely you're going to want to push up into this interior space and take it because it's just such a strong position to be in when you've got all this half cover to work with. And what else? You can pretty safely look at mid map without ever revealing yourself, but if you want to make a push through the mid lane, you do have varying bits of exposed area before each cover push. So I try to make cover pretty plentiful, and um, as I've played Rogue Company, as I've watched people play Rogue Company, their their cover placement is pretty dense. So there's not often more than maybe like 5 or 10 meters, or rather no more than 10 meters of play space before there's another piece of cover that a player can go to, unless it's like very clearly meant to be uh, a long range gunfight engagement, like something like this. And even here there's plenty of cover I can walk up on. um so I would say My main goal for this level was actually to sort of base it on um, another level in Rogue Company called High Castle, as I played that map a few times and I've watched people play it. And what struck me most about that map is on this demolition game mode, on this 4v4 attacker and defender game mode, the attackers are always fighting uphill against the defenders to get to each bomb site, and I wanted to try and replicate that. And I hope this isn't, blasphemous to say on a portfolio reel, but I actually don't think that was my main goal of this level, and I actually don't think I succeeded in doing that. I have a good amount of height or elevation variance in the level throughout, but the attackers aren't really fighting an uphill battle to get to the bomb sites, um, as I've realized after I finished my first draft of the level, my first 3D draft of the level. The I've set it up so that they go down and then they come up and play on this sort of level playing field, and the defenders come straight down from their height advantage spawn on this B site. Granted, there's a little bit of high ground fighting over here if a player plays in this window or if a player plays on the side ramp here. And the same thing over on the A site, where there's a decent amount of height variance, elevation variance, but the actual fight for the bomb site is mostly on level ground. Um, so I actually think I did not succeed in my main goal for the level, but despite that fact, I do think the level came out pretty well, despite not succeeding in my main goal of the level. I think I succeeded in my sub goals pretty well of um, keeping cover placement fairly dense and making sure engagements are dangerous for the most part. Making sure information gathering is relatively safe, but taking engagements is relatively dangerous. And I think that facilitates teamwork a bit more in these 4v4 game modes. Um, and also, I think I did a pretty decent job of iterating on this level with regard to level flow and making sure the lanes had adequate cuts throughout. So you could get from left lane to mid lane and then mid lane to right lane relatively quickly. Um, and I think now, even as I look back at this, one interesting piece might be to make this um, a one-way piece of transportation between lanes. So maybe if this was a bit higher, maybe if it came up to like this half line here, a player could jump from this left lane down into middle, but a player could not jump from middle up into the lane because we've got this cut over here, we've got this cut here, and then we've got this cut over here, and that might be even too much. So maybe I would like to play test having this be a one-way, because I know that's done a few times in Rogue Company, or maybe actually just once they have a new map with a one-way um, piece of transportation, and I wonder if that might be even more useful for this. But that is the level. Failed my main goal, but succeeded in my sub goals, and despite the fact I think it came out pretty well. I thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a good one.